La la la. This episode of the Music Dicts is brought to you by Crooked Fest. Crooked Fest is an all-day music event held at 112 Carley Road, Belington, West Virginia. It is $10 to enter, and you can bring a tent and camp out all night long. So much fun camping. There's going to be 8 bands playing for your listening pleasures. Those of which being Hallian, Kayla Madeline. There will be Gorgons, Dearborn, Howlin' Hollow, Five and Dime, Kelsey Jeffries, and ending the night is Josh Vomsby and the Crooked Roots. Come on, the Crooked Fest, hurry up and do it. Come on, you got to get there. Come on, what are you waiting for? Cut. Where's my fucking agent? Who booked this Crooked Fest? Nobody cares about no Crooked Fest. I'm the governor, you idiot.
What's going on, fellow music dicks?
Nothing.
You see it, man.
I'd just like to elaborate on the fact that it's Dicts, D-I-C-T-S, and not D-I-C-K-S, because my grandmother was like, why is it called Music Dicts? I'm like, it's Dicts. There's a T in there, Nan. There's a T in there, grandmother. We're not cursing. I mean, we are cursing, but at least it's not in the title. She's going to listen to it and find out on her own how surprising it's going to be when she hears her grandson say fuck about something, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Explicit content, everybody. Don't let your kids listen to this unless you just don't give a shit.
Yep.
My kids can listen to this because I don't give a shit. I'm a bad parent. Let's continue our discussion. Okay. I mean, whatever, you know. Let's continue. I'm a good parent. I'm kidding. For the, whatever that concern.
CPS.
Yeah. CPS. I'm a great parent.
Those people.
Great parent, CPS. Great parent. Great. I can't elaborate on how much of a great parent I am. Anyway, let's continue our discussion on some of our favorite, most influential albums of all time. Let's kick this off with me. So I play rock music. I play jam band music, but don't let that fool you. And don't get it twisted.
Plays Nickelback.
Yeah, I love Nickelback. They're actually almost made my top 10 list. They were at number 11. So I like rap a lot too. And to me, I'm going to talk about an album that you guys know nothing about. But if there's anybody out there that appreciate raps that will know, real quickly, like to say thank you, Patrick Stoniker, because without him, I would not know what this album is. So the album I'm talking about is Liquid Swords by GZA. GZA is in the Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang
The
forever.
RZA, the GZA. The Old Dirty Bastard, Inspector Deck, Raekwon the Chef, Ghostface
Yes,
Killer,
sir.
and Method Man. Oh, you God's in there too. But anyway,
Ghostface.
yeah, GZA, Liquid Swords. What I always found super fascinating about Wu-Tang and Hole is just that martial arts type of thing that they bring to the table. It's like they love those old kung fu flicks and shit like that, and they put those like overdubbed into the music. And I always found that, even as a young kid, you know, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. I probably shouldn't have been listening to that as a young kid, but like,
it's okay.
you know.
We are like
I'm
that.
not going to say that any of my kids have ever said that because they haven't, but all I'm trying to say is that it was very different than what rap was doing when that came out.
Right.
And still is. You've not seen what they were doing yet or before.
Well, not if Wu-Tang ever listens to this, you know, I really, really appreciate you guys. Your early stuff is really what hooked me, and that's like it is with a lot of musicians, a lot of bands, a lot of rap groups, whatever you want to say. But GZA, this is his solo album, one of his solo albums apart from the Wu-Tang. And one good thing about the Wu-Tang is like if you know Wu-Tang as a whole, when you listen to these solo albums, you're going to hear members of the Wu-Tang on these solo albums of members that are in the Wu-Tang. But I think it's a great rap album. I think that GZA as a lyricist, as a rapper, is just a hip-hop artist, whatever you want to call it, he's so intelligent. It's not just F this, F that. I guess I can say fuck this, fuck that, but you know, it's not I'm gonna shoot you. It's just
A lot of their music's like that.
Well, yeah, and not all of it, but there is a lot of it like that. I mean,
No, I mean a lot of their music isn't.
yeah. And I mean, I don't want
very
to talk
intellectual.
about trap rap too much, but I mean, trap
Exactly.
rap's a thing. So that's all I'm trying to say. But GZA is a very intelligent lyricist. I mean, the stuff he says, it makes you think. And there's a lot of examples, let's say that, of rap music where it's just like, okay, I got what you're saying there. You
Very
know what
true.
I mean? But anyway, if you guys haven't heard GZA, check out Liquid Swords because I think it's
I have not at all.
It's a great rap album. It's a great hip hop album. I think it's one of my favorite, one of my most influentials.
Okay.
Because at one time I didn't want to play guitar and sing. I want to be a rapper.
Really?
Straight
man.
truth.
Okay,
Dropping knowledge
okay.
on you right there.
All right, then.
What you got, Eric?
Well, for me, I've got Rumors by Fleetwood Mac.
Nice. Very, very nice.
Tristan and I were debating earlier before we started recording So Rolling Stones released, and we're going to definitely do a podcast on this
Oh,
at some point.
absolutely. It's terrible.
They released the 500 greatest albums of all time. And
Oh.
Rumors was in the top, I want to say 50. It was Fleetwood's, it was the album that was on there that was the highest of all of them. I think Rumors is a perfect glimpse into what Fleetwood Mac is.
Yeah.
It's a great album.
If you're not familiar with Fleetwood Mac, you definitely need to listen to this album.
Well, I think that most people, especially our age, if you were raised on your parents listening to classic rock, everybody's heard Go Your Own Way.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I think Go Your Own Way is probably one of the most
The Chain.
recognizable. The Chain's an incredible song.
The Chain is an
They have
incredible song.
great songs. They really, really
so
do.
many great songs.
I remember,
so many good guitar.
there's a lot of
Yes.
music, especially in classic rock, that, I don't want to say it was, cool not to like them, because that's not what I'm trying to say, but, everybody liked them, and I was like, I don't like that. And it was kind of the reason, I never really dove deep enough into their music to, really appreciate it. And I'll straight out say it, Zeppelin was one of those bands for me. When I was younger, when I first started playing music, I didn't like Zeppelin. I don't know that I didn't like Zeppelin, but I told people I didn't like Zeppelin.
Right. Well, see, I know a couple people like that who said, I don't like Zeppelin. And then,
How?
years later, they're like, yeah, I like Zeppelin.
There's
Yeah.
no way you
As-
cannot like
As
that.
I got older and my ears changed, because I think that happens to all of us.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure it does.
Absolutely.
Our ears change, and once I realized how good of a band Zeppelin was, it's I really, really liked it. But like I said, Rumors I think is a perfect example of what Fleetwood is. I think it's their best album in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
one of the
so.
best albums of all time.
I would say that too. If you're talking about, I would say, especially, I
Record
think it's
sales,
their
at
best album. Yeah, I think it's their best album, and I think if you're talking about classic rock or rock from back then,
Yeah.
it's definitely probably in the top 20, top 30.
I mean, you can go your own way. But
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're doing here. We're going our own way. You have anything to add on that, Eric?
No, nothing that hasn't already been said.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
moving on.
It's a great album. Check it out if you haven't.
Diary of a Madman by Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay.
Okay.
That is one of my favorites of all time. We used to listen to this album camping all the time. We would just have it on repeat constantly.
Well, where you had brought up Black Sabbath, their debut album in your first one. I've not listened to Ozzy albums. I know Ozzy songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's,
Over
there's
the mountain, flying high
there's a-
again. You
yeah.
can't get rock and roll.
there's a few albums you
Believer.
definitely need to listen to by Ozzy. Shit.
Ozzy, yeah.
Ozzy has some great work. This was Randy Rhoads' second album.
It's a good album.
Randy Rhoads is a great guitar player.
It's my favorite, personally.
I think I know Ozzy so well because I'm such a fan of Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilde, for those of you that
Zach
don't know what
Wilde
we're
is
talking
amazing
about.
as well.
This is funny because not to go off subject too much, but there was a post on one of the musician groups that I'm in on Facebook, and it was most overrated and underrated
Yeah.
guitar players. And somebody was like, Zach Wilde's so underrated or overrated. I'm like,
No.
no.
You haven't listened to enough of them. Because
No.
I used to think the same thing,
Go
actually.
listen to
I used to
his-
say that all the time. I was like, dude, he's so overrated. All he's doing is pentatonic stuff. Go listen to a lot of his older stuff. Go listen to old
Go
Black
listen to the
Label.
acoustic stuff.
Yes, his
early
acoustic stuff
acoustic
is
stuff?
insane. Machine
It
Gun
was-
Man,
Jesus.
fucking amazing.
I remember the intro to Machine Gun Man when he's on that acoustic. He's like, on an
He
acoustic
is
guitar, just
insane.
shredding. It's incredible. Zach Wilde's a great guitar player. Not to go off rails too much, but Zach Wilde was a guitar player
Absolutely.
for Ozzy after Randy died. I know a lot of is Sweet Leaf Ozzy or is that
That's Black Sabbath.
That's Black Sabbath.
Okay. Bark the Moon's Ozzy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. What's Dog the Bounty Hunter? That's Ozzy, right? The Dog the Bounty Hunter theme song.
What?
You remember Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Yeah,
right?
I don't think that's Ozzy.
Dude, it's Ozzy. It is Ozzy.
You might be right.
I'm
I don't
telling
know.
you right
You
now.
probably are right.
Let's see. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but hey Siri. The anticipation is
Nope.
killing me. Is it not? I really thought it was.
He's crazy.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, Dog the Bounty Hunter theme song available for download.
No fucking shit.
Dog the Bounty Hunter lyrics
This
by Ozzy
man-
Osbourne. See?
Yeah, there you go.
I
See,
know.
something I learned something.
There you
today.
go. See, I knew something about
Exactly.
Ozzy you didn't know about Ozzy.
But-
yeah, but what I was just getting at is I know a lot of his songs. I don't think I've ever sat down and listened.
That's
to
how
an
I am
album.
with a lot of albums, honestly, because a couple years younger than you, but I grew up on LimeWire, I grew up on FrostWire, I grew up on the age
Sure.
of
Jesus.
downloading music. I picked
who
songs
didn't?
from an album.
Who didn't?
Older.
Younger
people
kids.
But
older
how
than
old are
us,
you?
but, 23.
Yeah, I'm 27, so there's a little bit of an age gap between us. Eric,
Yeah,
you and I
but
are
not
the
too
same
much.
age, right?
I'm 26.
Yeah, so you're
You seem to
younger than me.
consume albums a little bit more, but from my generation, we just pick songs a lot of the times. We never listened to whole albums, and it was something I had to learn how to do.
Yeah, I definitely see that was a thing that with me was always a thing, and I always tried to listen to whole albums because I feel like
I
that's
do now for sure.
that's where you're getting the full dose of an
Yes.
artist is an album.
yeah.
Some artists aren't like that though. Some artists do put out singles, and some artists have filler songs and stuff like that. But
Yes.
those aren't the better artists, in my opinion.
Well, and I mean, I think
And that's not a general rule either.
no, and I think that like there's plenty of artists out there where like you're gonna know their hits, but to me, their B-sides are way better than their hits.
A lot of
sometimes,
them.
yeah,
That's what I say
sometimes.
with System all the time.
Yeah.
Like anything you've heard on the radio, they have way better stuff.
Exactly. So yeah, like I said, I've heard a lot of Aussie songs. I've not sat down and listened to a whole.
You should
Aussie
listen
album.
to Diary of a Madman, especially that song. That song.
I'll do
is
that.
So
It's a good album.
Too. All right, so I think anybody that knows me knew that this was coming sooner or later. But one of my favorite most influential albums,
Crash?
and it's my favorite Dave Matthews Band album. And I think that I interchange like 2 and 3 and stuff and change those around. But the number one favorite album for me is Before These Crowded Streets.
Never heard it.
I mean, but you
I've
probably
not listened to much there.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with Dave Matthews. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Before These Crowded Streets, before we started this podcast, was the album that I told you to listen to.
Okay.
And you were like, "Oh yeah."
I
man,
listened to
this is-
Crashed. Oh, okay, all right. I did listen to a little bit of that album then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one
It's
where I told
weird.
you like the time changes.
Yeah,
the time
it's
signature
weird.
changes are crazy to me.
It's
As
eclectic.
a Dave fan, Stay Wasting Time was probably the first song that I remember by them, and it's a lot different than what their normal stuff is, but like it just pulled me in. I mean, for any of the Dave fans out there, I mean, it's got P&P on it, it's got Rapunzel, Last Stop, Don't Drink the Water, Stay,
Okay, see, I didn't even get to Rapunzel.
Halloween. Rapunzel's the second song on the album. Thought you listened to the whole thing.
Okay, then maybe I did. I just didn't know. I
Halloween.
kind of threw it. I just threw it on and threw my phone.
Yeah, The Stone
the
Crush, The Dreaming Tree, Pig Spoon. I think it's their best album. It's not early Dave. It's their third studio album. I'm a huge Dave Matthews Band fan. Dave Matthews Band is probably my favorite band out there. It's not for everybody. I've learned that throughout the years.
His voice is what kills it for me. I love their
Really?
music. Yeah,
See,
it
I hate
really
when
is.
people say that because I feel like Dave
But-
gets such a great voice. Like
His
their
fucking
songs-
highs are so good. I'm not saying that he's bad by any means. He's got such a great voice.
So
but
to
I
me,
don't know.
Halloween is a perfect example. And it's on this album.
What the fuck?
I don't know that I've ever heard him do that, but Halloween is a perfect example for me. It's a lot heavier of a song than what you're going to hear from Dave. It's a lot heavier, and a lot of people love the song because they don't play it very often. But especially live, he screams a lot in this, and when he screams perfectly on key.
Just like I did.
It's exactly that's what you were trying to do. I get it now. He screams perfectly on key, and to me, that's such a hard thing to do because like there's moments as a singer where like I go to get up there and I can get it and I can reach it, but like to do that and hold that note and to scream it almost, it's just absolutely crazy to me. I could talk about Dave John Blue in the Face. We're probably going to do an episode about them. You guys probably won't talk that much. I'll probably be the one talking, and that's
I'll
fine
talk
with
in
me.
depth.
I think
I'll listen to.
I've listened to enough Dave to know
The
that
band
I'm
is
not,
amazing.
I'm not really crazy about
Dave
the
is the
band.
only thing that kills it for
well
me.
to me, and I'll tell you like
And his
this.
guitar playing is really good. I love his chord progressions and stuff.
he
Like
is a
he
very-
doesn't pick anything that's normal.
He is
I
a
guess.
very different guitar player.
Yeah, he really
his
is.
his chord shapes and stuff
It's
like that that
fucking
he
so
comes up
weird.
with basically are very, very
It's
different.
so weird.
I mean, I could say that about everybody in that band. I think Carter Beauford's probably one of the best drummers.
Their
to
sax
ever
player
live.
as well is really good.
Jeff Coffin, who's their sax player now, is really good. Leroy Moore was the original sax player. He died in like an ATV accident.
And the drummer, whoever.
That's Carter Beauford.
yeah,
that's what I
he's
was
so good too.
Stefan Lassard's a bass player. Stefan Lassard joined the band when he was like 15 years old. I mean, he's been with them since. He's a great bass player. Tim Reynolds, I think, is an amazing guitar player. But I remember the first time I listened to him, and Dave Matthews Band is one of those bands that changed music for me forever, and I've never listened to music the same way. They completely changed music for me, and I can't pinpoint why, but they have, and that's the way I feel about them. And to me, if you're going to listen to an album, listen to Before These Crowded Streets, because to me, it's their best
Okay.
album. And I think that a lot of big Dave Matthews Band fans are going to argue like the top 3 are either going to be Crash, Under the Table, or Before These Crowded Streets. But they just released an album like 2 years ago, and I thought it was incredible too. Anyway, I digress. Eric, what do you got to talk about?
I'm going to talk about Ozzy,
Woo!
Yeah, another one.
the No More Tears album.
Okay, all right, I got you. Zach's first album.
Yes, it is a fantastic album. It's got so many good songs on it, and it's very Ozzy.
See, as somebody that really likes Zach Wild, I don't know how I wouldn't appreciate it because I think Ozzy's got a great voice, number one, and I think Zach is an incredible guitar player. So I would assume that I would have to like it.
It's got some of his biggest songs on it, like No More Tears, Hellraiser, Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Mama, I'm Coming Home is such
I definitely know
good
No More
song.
Tears and Mom, I'm Coming Home. I know those two.
You know Hellraiser. I guarantee you know Hellraiser.
I mean, I probably do. I'm just saying from the title.
Hellraiser.
For copyright reasons, you probably shouldn't do that, Tristan.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm assuming you're
I'm not on
probably.
key.
I was about to say, I'm assuming you're probably off key, but I don't know how they might
I don't
be
want
able
to change
get us
the
with that.
world.
I mean,
Time
that's
After
a good one.
Time is such an amazing song. Road to Nowhere is one of my favorite.
This
Ozzy
song
songs.
is pretty well just a banger, like all the way through.
It really
as
is.
two guys that listen to Ozzy, obviously, 'cause-
He's one of my favorites.
But to me, what do you like more? Do you like the Randy Ozzy, or do you like Zach Ozzy?
Absolutely the Randy Ozzy.
Really?
But Zach Wild's Ozzy has a different sound. He
Well, they're
changes
very
his
different
voice.
guitar players. Very
In,
different.
in this album, he doesn't change his voice too much. It's very still 80s sounding. But like as you look at like Scream and you look at like Black Rain, his voice gets a lot deeper.
Right.
I feel like because Zach's playing a lot down. I think he's playing in C in those albums or something like that. He's playing a little bit lower, something like he does in Black Label.
But I remember when I was younger, I used to listen to the shit out of this album. Oh.
Yeah. It kills me, like I brought up earlier, like the people think Zach Wild. Like there's somebody out there that thinks Zach Wild's overrated as a guitar
I mean,
player.
for a long time, you do hear a lot of his works in like pentatonic scales,
Well,
and it gets pretty
and
stale
one thing
until
someone-
you branch out to all of his stuff,
One
and then you
thing-
see that he can do anything he wants.
One thing somebody said was that he plays the same like licks over and over
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
And he does have a lot of licks that he repeats.
That's
sure,
every
but-
guitar
but who
player,
doesn't?
though.
Yeah, exactly. Name
that's
a guitar
every
player that
player.
doesn't do that.
Listen to Tool.
What kills me
That's
is
the same shit over and
the
over.
pinch harmonics he does over and over sometimes.
Yeah, he overkills it a little
Well,
bit.
Sometimes.
he does overdo pinch harmonics, but that's his sound.
Yeah.
Like that's
mean-
when you hear those pinch harmonics,
And he's
You
got a
know it's
wall.
Zach Wild.
He has
But
a very
think about
distinct
it.
wall as well.
Who else was very, very, very well known for doing those pinch harmonics? Billy Gibbons.
True.
ZZ Top. Think about all those
true.
pinch harmonics that was in ZZ Top. That
Yeah,
was
You're
a
not
very,
wrong.
That's a
Look
fair
Look at his
point.
beard and everything. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, you're not wrong.
You know, not ZZ's a great band, but he was another. Good,
ZZ's a little underrated in my opinion.
They are.
They really are.
I
they
love
are
ZZ
so
Top.
they're so good.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would say they're underrated. I think
No one talks about them.
look at who kids are talking about today. Like our parents.
You're gonna
talk
put a
about
fucking
ZZ
Clash
Top.
album above any ZZ Top album.
Well, he's
You-
he's saying this about that Rolling Stones 500. thing.
get out of
I
here.
mean, I don't like the Clash, but regardless, I'm just saying like those pinch harmonics is what Zach
Yeah,
Wild's
that's
known
very
for,
true.
and
Well,
it's very,
and
very-
it's funny that you say that because ZZ Top actually made my list too. But moving on, we'll get to
yeah,
that later.
we'll come back to that. Tristan, what do you get? What's next on your list?
The next two are going to be weird ones that you probably have never listened to. Slipknot's first album.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people disregard them as a terrible band. Me personally being a fan since I was like, I don't know, 6 years old maybe. Like I've been a fan most of my life, even since second and third grade. I can remember being a fan of Slipknot. But their first album had such different production, so many different things going on, so many different rhythmic aspects between the percussion and Joey Jordison and the way that Mick Thompson and James Root played. They explored so many different genres in that, and even before, if you listen to like their old EP that came out before this, you can see that they explored even like jazz fusion and stuff like that.
I see. For me, like I don't have a bunch to say about Slipknot because I know that I don't care for them. I mean, I never got into Slipknot.
They're a hard band to get into.
Joey
If you're not
Jordison's a
into
great
aggressive
drummer, I know
music-
that.
Yeah,
You know-
if you're not into aggressive music, they're really, really hard to
We
get into.
see, I like Corey Taylor.
See, I
Like
don't,
his
I don't
solo
mind.
He is my
Corey
least
Taylor.
favorite part of Slipknot.
Really?
By far. Absolutely.
I like a lot of his solo stuff, but I don't really like Slipknot.
What was
Stone
what was,
Sour
what was
is
Stone
Come Whatever
Sour? Was that
May
their band?
could be on this top 10 list for me. That album is so amazing. But as far as Corey Taylor goes, like he's my least favorite part of Slipknot. And when Joey left, you can tell the difference between All Hope Is Gone and The Great Chapter and the drums. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I know who Joey Jordison is. I know Joey Jordison's a good drummer.
Mhm.
Slipknot was just something about their music was something I never
It's
could
really,
ever.
really, it's hard to get into.
I never could
Yeah,
appreciate
it wasn't
But
really
it is
for
a
me
mix
either.
of a lot of different things.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that.
Now, as far as influentially, they're not really up there for me as far as playing goes. Now, sometimes song structure
So this is
wise,
just
they
an
get
album
into
that you
me.
really like, then basically.
Yeah, kind of. But as far as song structure, I do pick a little bit of things from Slipknot as far as the way that they would go about like songwriting. How is they take one riff, the hook riff, and then kind of build off of that in the verse, and then they go to a chorus that's like an open version of that, and then back to the hook riff, and like they always kind of keep a certain structure about the way that they write that I've kind of taken. But
Sure.
other than that, they've not been too influential to me. They play in down-tuned guitars and like B and A, and I'm not a huge fan of all that, to be honest.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that I'm not because there's a lot of bands out there that play a lot, that play down, or that don't play in standard that I probably like, and there's some out there that I don't. But like I said, Slipknot's just one of those bands that I can never ever get into.
Right, and I'm right there with you on that.
All right, let's move on.
right.
So another one on my list that you guys might get a chuckle at. This band was probably one of my favorite bands when I was in high school. If you saw me, you'd probably guess that. Fall Out Boy from Under the Cork Tree.
Oh my god.
Dude, I don't care what anybody says.
No, is that their first album?
That was their first commercial album that they really hit big, and it wasn't their first
Was it their
album.
third album then?
I'm not sure where it was on the chain, to be completely honest with you, because they had
So
some
it's
stuff that they
only
released
first
that
and
wasn't
third.
like,
Yeah.
that
Their
wasn't
early stuff, yeah.
commercially produced, or not commercially
Because that's got,
produced, but
does that have Dance Dance on it?
yes, and it's got Sugar We're Going Down. on it.
yeah.
Came out in 2005.
That album was really good. They fucking killed it when they came out.
A
They
lot of
really
people
did.
don't. They always hated on Fall Out Boy.
I
It
don't like
it's
the
the
sound
second-
that they've gone to, but at the same time, I mean, they do what they do. Like
It
they're
says
not
it's
a
their
bad
second
band.
album. No, I just there's songs on this album that I love. To me that summed up high school for me because that's what I listened to. I mean, me, my buddy Brian, Kevin, and Trevor.
God, no wonder you were the way you were.
Yeah. we had our own band in high school, and like we wanted to be Fall Out Boy. That's who we really liked. But as a teenager, like I still go back and listen to this, and like I am completely okay with the fact that I liked Fall Out Boy because I think they were a really good band.
American Idiots up there
Dude.
for me.
Really,
It's not in this list, but yeah,
really.
it made
Uh,
honorables.
To me, Dookie is the best Green Day album.
I'd see, dude. I think American Idiot's better, but
It's a good one.
less punk.
But anyway, I was never really into Fall Out Boy. I mean, I know the songs like you said, Dance Dance and Sugar We're Going Down. Like, I know those songs, but
They're good players, man.
So, well, to
They're
me, the
a
big
little
thing
bit
about
underrated.
Fall Out Boy is the fact that Patrick Stump's voice is very,
It
very
really is
good.
distinct. too.
yeah,
It's like a lot of people hate on Panic at the Disco. You know what I mean?
His voice is
Brandon
so
Urie
good, though.
has an incredible voice.
Yeah.
Chance, our mutual friend, hates Panic at the Disco. He thinks that I'm stupid for liking Panic at the Disco. Like, I Write Sins, Not Tragedies is a great
Oh, I love
album.
that song.
It's a great album. It's
I love
it's
that
an incredible
song.
album. But anyway, yeah. I'm
not
sure
listening
there's
much
some
to them
people out
either.
there like, yes, we're happy that Fall Out Boy made the list. It made my list. So nothing else
That's
to say.
that's a pretty
I
surprising.
think it's a good album. All right, moving on to Eric.
The Eliminator by ZZ Top.
Nice. Okay.
Eliminator.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk about it. I got something I want to ask you, but go ahead.
It's got a lot of their big hits, and it's just a fantastic album. It's got "Give Me All Your Lovin'," "Sharp Dressed Man," "Legs."
Yeah, I was going
Legs,
to
one of
ask
my
you if this was the
favorite
album
ZZ
with
Top.
the car facing in the headlights
It
on it.
is.
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
what I thought.
I mean, it's in my opinion, it's one of their best albums.
I really like. Is it Los Hombres? Is that one of their first ones? It's got the green. cover.
Trace Hombres.
Jesus
Trace
so much
Hombres.
Chicago.
Yeah.
That's probably
Like,
my favorite ZZ Top
really,
song.
Well, it's got Waiting on the Bus. Jesus Just Left Chicago. Yeah, it's a good album too.
Trace Hombres is what I was talking about. I really like that album.
It has Lagrange on it.
It's very bluesy and southern compared to more of what they were doing later.
Sure.
Compared to like Eliminator, it's very. I mean, ZZ Top, but it's different sounding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think ZZ Top's
ZZ
great.
Top is so good.
Yeah, that's
ZZ Top is very good.
It's another band that I was raised on. My mother used to listen to ZZ Top a lot when I was a kid.
Well, same here, and that's why it made my list because I heard it so much growing up. It's in there.
My grandpa had a cassette tape and the vinyl of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean ZZ Top. You said underrated earlier. I wouldn't say underrated, but they're a great. I mean, I think they're great. I think they're well known by. They're not Zeppelin. You know, they're not like
No, but
younger
I mean,
kids at our age. I mean, they don't know Zeppelin like
the
necessarily.
caliber's got to be up there.
We know Zeppelin. I mean, but with that being said, there's not a Zeppelin or a ZZ Top ripoff band called Greta Van Fleet either. You know what I mean? I
Also
said
true.
it. I hate on me all
Also
you
true.
want. See, I don't want to jump into that.
Yeah, but we can get into that. We really can
We'll do a whole
because I
episode
think
on
they're
that.
a more of a Rolling Stones ripoff. As far
I
as
don't know
guitar
that.
playing and shit goes,
I don't know about all that.
because you're listening to the
But-
voice and that's it.
Like
that's
like
the
you
only
said,
thing you're
like you
listening
said,
to.
then we'll probably have another episode about that.
Yeah,
Because
we
they
definitely-
sound way more like the Stones, in my opinion, as far as playing goes.
We definitely need to come back and talk about that. But no, ZZ Top. It's a great album. It's got a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of good songs, a lot of well known songs on it
Yeah,
as
well,
well.
like I said, those three right there. I mean, those are the big ones.
I'm just more of an early ZZ Top guy, I think, than the later stuff. Not that the later songs was bad. I'm just saying, like, I enjoy the early
Sure.
stuff more.
All right, moving on. What do you
Tristan?
Another one you guys don't know. Death's Symbolic. So you guys
Go
have
ahead.
probably never heard
take,
of Death.
Take 3 minutes, bro. Go ahead.
Right? All right, this album came out in 1995. It had Symbolic, Empty Words, 1,000 Eyes. Crystal Mountain was the big hit on this album, which, of course, you guys haven't listened to any of this, but they pushed metal in a way that most bands didn't. They turned death metal into melodic metal, especially with this album. It was this big jump to a more melodic side of what he was doing. The soloing in this album is really good. His vocal approach is a lot different than the older stuff that was way more straightforward death metal. But it really opened my eyes to progressive metal my probably junior year, something like that. As soon as I dropped out, I got into these guys really hard. But the drumming on this album is amazing. The guitar work itself is some of the best that Death does. It's an underrated album that really pushed the way that metal sounded at that time. It pushed the way Meshuggah pushed things. And Meshuggah isn't talked about a lot, but they really pushed the way gent and a lot of modern metal is. Not that I necessarily like the way that it went, but they really shaped the way that metal was going. This first showed me that you were able to do really hard songs that were technically difficult, but at the same time were fun to play and still catchy, that had a lot of progressive parts to them.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I have no idea who you're talking about. Never heard of this band.
You
You said
would-
Meshuggah, and I knew who Meshuggah was. Not that I listened to
See,
him.
Meshuggah for me is a lot harder to get into than Death. Death is actually pretty catchy. Especially a lot of their hits. This is one of the few bands that I would say a lot of their hits and popular stuff. Like if you go to Spotify, their most popular song actually is an instrumental of him just playing like acoustic guitar and it's acoustic and electric, I'm pretty sure. But it's a very, very beautiful song. He incorporates a lot of melodic stuff into it. It's not just heavy stuff like you would think. It's actually even more melodic than Metallica a lot of the times. It's more listenable than you would think.
It's called
not,
Death.
Yeah,
How
you
do
would
you-
probably like them more than Slipknot.
Like,
to be
how do
completely
you?
honest.
I don't like Slipknot at all, so you're probably right. How do you get like the okay just to use the word death as your
Death?
band name? It's like when
They
you
got
get,
lucky, and
you
that,
get that early.
I
Like,
can't believe they got that far because
early
they started
emo.
in like 1988, 87. So
Yeah, I have no idea who these guys are. So
you should.
Never
check
heard of them.
yeah,
They
check 'em
are.
out.
They were very influential on my playing. In fact, one of the most influentials. It showed me that you could make metal songs that were 6 and 7 minutes long that were still cohesive
Yeah.
and catchy.
All right, well, moving on. The big reason that I play guitar, the main reason that I started playing guitar, was because of Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix is probably the most influential guitar player. I don't play like Hendrix, but like that was the reason that I wanted to start playing guitar. So for me, I hate to throw a greatest hits album in there, but Experience Hendrix, the best of Jimi Hendrix, is to me. I mean, it's just got all the hits by Hendrix on it, but it's also got a lot of less well known songs that weren't hits on there.
See, I thought about putting Mothership by Zeppelin on here because it was so
Yeah.
hard to pick between the Zeppelin albums.
I'm a huge Hendrix fan. I think Hendrix reinvented the guitar when he first started playing guitar. And there's a lot of other musicians and guitar players that I agree, reinvented the guitar when they started playing. They have their own style and they kind of created everything themselves. But this album I think is a great example of that. Just somebody with that different sound. I mean, it's a greatest hits album, but obviously most people know who Hendrix is. A lot of people probably know who he is and they haven't listened to him. But go check this album out. If you're not a big Hendrix fan, at least give it a try because you're going to hear all of his greatest hits on there. But to me, it's a perfect compilation of all of the great songs that Hendrix have done.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Eric, what do you got?
Maiden, Iron Maiden.
Okay, all right.
Number of the Beast.
Number of the Beast. All right, I was going to say Power Slave, but
That's a good one too. But
I
I
love
just
Power Slave.
Number of the Beast was one of the first ones I ever got.
Okay.
Like as a whole, when I just sat down and listened
Influential,
through it, and it definitely influenced the way I play.
What all is on that album?
Some of their bigger hits. It definitely has. Number of the Beast is one of them. Run to the Hills,
Run to
like
the
the
Hills,
biggest
that's
song.
right.
Everyone knows that song.
Yes.
Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Hallowed Be Thy Name is my favorite Maiden song.
Children of the Damned.
Children of the Damned is a great song.
And yeah, it's just a great album.
It really is. Iron Maiden has so many great albums. They really do.
Oh,
Even their
yeah.
newer stuff that kind of gets lost in the dust. It seems like this is really, really good.
I'm not a huge fan of their newer
Their
stuff.
guitar duo is one of my favorites, and that was one thing that I missed saying about Slipknot was that their duo, guitar wise, is one of my favorite tandems there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not big in Iron Maiden. It's something that I haven't really listened to a lot. What I've heard from Iron Maiden.
If
I'm
you
not
do want to
crazy
get
about.
into Iron Maiden, that's an album I recommend.
Instrumentally, they're one of the best bands
Oh,
ever.
yeah.
And live, they are considered probably the best.
I've seen them live,
show,
and
period.
it is one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, no, they have since their creation, they have been considered one of the best live shows.
Did
They'd
you
be
see
like
them?
Kiss, man.
Did you see them live in Pittsburgh like last year
No.
when they were?
Blake did. He said they were insane.
It
I
was
told him he
crazy
had to
'cause
see Tool to compare.
It was like 10 years ago.
We played a show in like downtown Pittsburgh that night, and
Yeah.
I remember us not wanting to drive back, and we were trying to find a hotel, and like we didn't know that Maiden was playing Pittsburgh, so no hotels were available.
None.
The Steelers had like a preseason game, so no hotels available. Like we drove all the way back to West Virginia, and like still couldn't find a hotel because everybody was like staying that way. But anyway, I haven't listened to a lot of Maiden. From what I've heard, I'm not crazy about it. I'm sure if I sat down and actually listened to it in depth, I would find something that I like about it. Maiden's just not a band that I listen to a
Instrumentally,
lot.
they are one of the most influential metal bands as well. They
Yeah,
are,
for me
I
as
mean,
well.
I think I know that from hearing people say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people hold Maiden in high regard, and I know a lot of people that do myself that hold Maiden in high regard. It's just not something I've listened to a bunch of.
I mean, you can't say enough about Steve Harris. You
Yeah.
just really can't.
He's a killer songwriter, and he's a great bass player.
What you got, Tristan?
My next one, Ashes of the Wake by Lamb of God.
So, I really enjoy Lamb of God.
hmm
As somebody that doesn't listen to a lot of music in Lamb of God's kind of realm,
Yeah.
I think Lamb of God's great.
Lamb of God is one of the best metal bands, especially when you look at like their first 4 albums. Ashes of the Wake for me, it was easily top 5 metal albums of all time. Start to finish, it just punches you in the face. Every song has a different feel. Even to the later portions, it doesn't lack. Like Remorses for the Dead is one of my favorite songs, and it's like 8th or 9th on the album. Their instrumental Ashes of the Wake on the album is one of the hardest pieces of guitar work I've tried to play, and that's what really changed for me was thinking, oh, I can play that because it sounds a certain way, and then you go and look up tabs, and you're like, oh my god, like what is he doing? It's just so spread out, and everything that they do is so much harder than you would think it is.
They're definitely a perfect example of because there's a lot of
And
metal bands.
their tandem too is amazing.
There's a lot of metal bands, or I would just just to kind of just not to be too wide, but metal bands out there
Yeah.
that their guitar playing aren't anything special.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially a lot of big
For
bands
sure,
where they don't
yeah.
have a bunch of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But like you said it exactly, like their guitar parts are very, very
Yeah,
intricate.
no, when you go to a Lamb of God show or when you listen to Lamb of God, you listen for the music. It's
And
usually not just vocals.
I think with Lamb of God, they're one of those bands like you either like Lamb of God or you're not going to like
yeah,
them.
pretty much.
It's not going to like, well, I like this song or I like this song. You're either going to like
I like
Lamb of
them
God
or
or
you
you're not
don't.
gonna like them.
I grew away from him. My dad made me listen to him for a very, very long time, and I didn't like him for a long time because of the vocals. I didn't like Randy. When we saw him in Ozfest in 2007, that completely changed my mind. They blew the doors open for everything that I wanted to listen to.
See,
that
I
was
like
heavy.
Randy. I think Randy's a really, really
Oh,
good
he's insane.
front man.
I don't necessarily like the direction they've
Singer,
gone in the
screamer,
last
whatever you want to call it.
album or so, but it hasn't been as bad. When you watch them perform it live, it's so good. Like their last album, Engage the Fear Machine, I didn't like listening to it in the studio wise, but when you went to go see some of the songs live, they fucking kill it. It's so good.
How old's Redneck?
2008?
Yeah,
No,
like late 2000s.
2006 or 2008.
I think that's the
wanna say. Maybe
last thing. I
2007.
think it's the last like album that I really
No,
listened
it
to.
had to have been 2007. Yeah, it was 2007 because they were playing that
Yeah.
when we went to see them.
I think it's the last.
They had played Redneck and Walk With Me in Hell, and that was the only songs they played off of Sacrament.
Yeah, I think that's the last like album that I listened to of them. I just remembered like somebody introducing them to me like when I was in high school or maybe
Yeah.
middle school or something like that. And like still to this day, I'm not crazy about screamers.
Yeah.
Like I'm not crazy about. I like the
Probably
harder.
waiting on like Phil.
Well, I like the harder guitar playing. I've always
Yeah.
liked that, But I appreciate
When
Lamb
it's-
of God because it's great. The music's
Right.
great. It really
Yeah,
is.
it really is.
It really is. I've always appreciated them because of that, and I can get around. Like I said, I'm not crazy about the scream, but Randy does a good job at it.
He really does. They kill live too, man.
Yeah.
They really do. They are such a good fucking band.
Have you listened to a lot of Lamb of God, Eric?
None.
Nah, you would,
Really?
you,
None.
would, you would appreciate the musicians.
Oh, I'm sure I would. I just never really had an opportunity to get into them. No one really showed them to me. And
I mean, they are pretty heavy for the most part.
Yeah, I
though.
think
they take everything that Pantera did and kind of.
I'm okay with heavy. It's just
When I went to high school, I think there was like 3 genres that everybody listened to, and it was country, metal, and like classic rock.
Pretty much.
That was
Pretty
it.
much.
You know what I
And
mean?
rap. I mean,
Yeah, I guess not really as much as everything else. I mean, yeah, there were.
we did go to South Arizona,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's all I'm trying to say. I mean, I feel like music in general had like its own clubs, almost like you had the jocks, you had the nerds, you had the fucking emo kids, you had
This is true.
music had its kind of own sections as well.
well, sure. And it was like that at my high school too.
Yeah, and I'm not. I think it's like that with everywhere. Really, kind of the music you listen to. I'm not saying that those are the people that you're going to hang out with necessarily, but
it's all
obviously the people you hang out with are probably going to have very similar music. Like
Yeah, and that's how it was for me in school.
I mean, I had friends that listened to like Lamb of God and stuff like that, like the harder metal type stuff, which not necessarily was my main genre of music that I listened to, but that's once again like they introduced me to music that I wouldn't necessarily have listened to on my own. So that's why I think it's not only a lot of people that you hang out with are going to have the same music taste, but it's nice to have those friends that listen to other things because then you're going to figure out stuff that you necessarily wouldn't have found on your own. Like my buddy Patrick Stoniker is a perfect example of that. He got me into a lot of rap and a lot of rock that I would have never found on my own unless somebody else led me to them without him being there. So like I think it's great to have those friends with different music preferences. That
Yeah,
kinda
same thing with
introduce
Chance.
you. Yeah,
for sure.
Right. I mean, I had friends like that too, of course.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the same thing. Like not to go too far into it, but like Tyler Childers. Before my girlfriend and I had gotten together, Tyler Childers was something I did not listen to, and after she was like, just listen to him, just check it out. Like, I really appreciate what he does as not only a musician, but as a songwriter. As a
I've always
singer.
liked Tyler, actually.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's just another great example. Like, different people have different music tastes, so kind of like give something a try every once in a while. Because I think a lot of these albums on this list that we've talked about, you may not have heard of, like some of the ones I've not heard of, or you may not have listened to that specific album. But give it a try because you might find that you like something a lot more than what you've originally thought you would have liked.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this is a good place to end this episode. And we've done 7 albums apiece, I believe, so far. So 21 albums that we've covered. We've got 3 more for you on the next installment of this little mini-series of our favorite albums and most influential albums. And we're excited to bring that to you. Thank you guys for listening once again. I think that we can all say that there were some albums that we kind of figured would be in all of our favorite albums so far, and a lot of albums that, you know, we necessarily didn't even know of that were going to be in somebody's tops. Especially Tristan's. I mean, there was like 3 bands that I think I've never heard of, maybe.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there was albums that I listed that you guys had never listened to in depth, and the same thing with Eric, and I think that's what's great about us. But, you know, do yourself a favor, go listen to some of these albums that you've maybe never heard of, or the bands that you don't like, at least try to give them another try. I promise that I'll give Nirvana another try at some point, but I can almost guarantee you I won't like them. Anyway, thank you guys very much for listening. We cannot wait to bring you the next installment of this, and we'll see you again next time.